Well, hello, Kasey. How are you?
Good. How
I'm
are
so
you?
glad you're here.
Yes.
Let's start off with your name. Let's start off with your sobriety date, and we'll kind of just go from there.
Okay. My name is Kasey. I'm a grateful recovering addict, alcoholic. My sobriety date is February 23rd, 2024.
Very cool.
Thank you. Yes.
And you recognize as a alcoholic and drug addict?
Yes.
Okay.
I am definitely both.
Yeah.
Definitely both. Yes.
What was your drink of choice?
Ooh. Near the end, it was Merlot. Odd. I know, but that was like 8 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, I know.
So let's start off with let's go through your timeline. It started. Where would you say it started?
So
Let's go to the
starts with,
beginning.
Trauma.
Okay.
A lot of trauma. My mother, I was 2 months old. My mother, Jennifer, it was a choking accident.
Okay.
It was an accident. My dad thought she was having an asthma attack, resuscitated her incorrectly, and I was 2 months old when she passed away. So I never got to know her, unfortunately.
What was her name?
Jennifer.
Jennifer.
Mm-hmm.
So she passes away when you were how old again?
2 months old.
2 months old.
Yeah.
And then so let's keep going through the timeline. So you, as you grew up, did you have a relationship with your father?
Not really.
Okay.
He was in and out of my life a lot. Drugs, prison. I was living with his parents.
Okay.
So my grandparents raised me.
So they're the ones, yeah, they raised you.
He would come when he wanted money or something. So if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have seen him.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did develop a relationship later. But
Okay.
we'll get to that, yeah.
But you had a relationship with your grandparents.
I did.
Let's talk about that.
I did,
Let's talk
yeah.
about your grandparents.
I was raised by them. They were really the only parents I knew. You know, I called her mom. I called him Papa.
Yeah.
Later on, I called him Dad. But I had a great childhood. They did a lot for me. They had children. Obviously, I had aunts and uncles. But I feel like they really overcompensated for my loss that had already happened with my
Right.
mom, you know? Yeah, life was good.
What's
my
one of
adolescence.
your earliest memories of, having fun with them?
My grandma was very into holidays.
Okay.
And she was the glue that kept us all together,
Right.
you know. So I just remember very extravagant Christmases, very extravagant Easters, hiking. We hiked Half Dome together.
Awesome.
My papa was not disconnected, but he just, we went to church a lot and he went golfing.
Right.
So he was kind of a little bit more introverted and just a little more hands-off, but
Right.
he took care of me really well.
So then you are being raised by your grandparents,
Mhm.
and you're enjoying life, and they're raising you, and you're starting to see your father, biological father, come into the picture a little bit more as
yeah.
you're getting older. And what was that like?
It was interesting. It wasn't just the drugs and prison with my dad, my biological dad. It was also women.
Okay.
Like I have 13 half brothers and sisters
Okay.
that are a lot of different mothers.
Right.
And so he had a lot of addictions, I guess you could say. So it was a lot of hurt and a lot of pain and a lot of broken promises with him.
So then, as you are being raised by your grandparents, what happens next? Grandpa, actually, right? Michael.
Yes.
Michael
Yeah.
gets you.
I was 11.
Okay.
I think on Thanksgiving morning, he had an episode where he was peeing blood and went to the emergency room, and he had colon cancer.
Oh.
And so it all ended up okay at that point. He had surgery and then chemotherapy. 6 months was in remission. So it was fine at that point.
And how old were you again at this point?
11.
11. Okay.
Yeah, I was 11. I think I might have been 12 after it was all said and done with in the remission. But right after that, my grandmother, got into a car accident.
Right.
which spiraled into numerous things. It turned into like a lot of hospital and doctor errors, giving her blood cold,
Right.
into having a flap of bacteria on her heart.
Right.
So she had to have open heart surgery. It was a lot of postponements of the surgery. So by the time they did open her up, the bacteria was gone. Right. And this was like over the course of maybe 8 months.
Wow.
So I missed a lot of school. I kind of got really disconnected from people. And I was camping with my aunt and uncle and my cousin Memorial Day weekend, Modesto Reservoir, where there's no service.
Right.
And I came home to, I guess I should back up a little bit. She developed Stevens-Johnson syndrome.
Okay.
From her surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave her a medication she was allergic to. And we basically watched her burn. It was a chemical burn that develops from that. On the inside out, kind of. And she was charred, lost her hair, eyebrows, all that. And, I hadn't really experienced death yet. Like my biological mom when I was 2 months old, but I didn't remember that.
Right.
So the thought of her dying was not really apparent to me. So when I came home from camping, there was a bunch of cars outside my house, and she did pass away. And I, which was terrible for me. It was awful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're 12 years old at this point, and you've experienced the loss of your biological mother as you're growing up, which now you've kind of become attached to Papa and Nana, right?
Mm-hmm.
Patsy and Michael.
Yep.
Michael gets sick, and now Patsy gets sick, and now she passes. Right? So then what happens after that?
So I spent maybe another 6 months dealing with the depression of my papa, as you can imagine, because they were very close and in love. And then
did he isolate himself from everyone?
Yes.
Yeah.
No. A lot of people kind of forced themselves on him.
Okay.
Because we were worried.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, But I really stopped taking care of Kasey, because it was terrible. I'd come home from school and he'd be gazing into the pool, and I just, he'd always wipe the side of his eye, and he was such a man of few words.
Right.
And so it killed me.
Yeah.
But I came home from school one day, and he sat me down at the kitchen table and showed me the x-rays of his liver. And his cancer came back, and it was, you can live without half of a liver, but it was too much, and he told me that he didn't want to fight it. He didn't want to go through chemotherapy anymore. And he just wanted to be with my mom.
He was right.
I understand now, but then
you didn't know. You're
right.
Why would you want to leave me?
Right. Like,
right.
what about me?
What about me? I need somebody to take care of me. I mean, you're 12, 13 at this point.
Yeah.
And you can't lose another person.
Right. It felt unfair.
It felt unfair. So what happens after that?
So I got angry and bitter with God.
Right. And now at this point he has passed. No, or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
There was a couple years, in high school where I watched him deteriorate, which was terrible. But he did pass away my senior year of high school. And school was good. I definitely started engulfing myself in the wrong people. A boy that was mean and just, trying to overcompensate for, like, asking God why he was doing all these things to me type of deal.
And what was your faith like in high school at this point? Because you had lost it's not like, because Patsy was the one taking you to church. Right?
She was
and now that she has passed,
yeah.
Obviously, I'm assuming you weren't going anymore.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Because my papa didn't force it on me anyway.
Right.
It wasn't really, he believed, but he didn't practice it too much. And I was also angry with God.
Absolutely.
So there really wasn't much of a relationship at that point.
Got it.
Yeah.
So your senior year, your papa, Michael, he ends up passing, correct? Do you remember that day?
I do.
How hard was that?
You know, it was difficult because I lost him. I lost the house I grew up in. I lost my childhood dog in the same week.
Oh, wow.
And
What was your dog's name?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I named her when I was 3, but yes.
I love it.
She was a Yorkie. Yeah, she was cool.
So you lost Merry Christmas, and you lost your father, or Papa.
Right.
And what was that like?
It was terrible, but watching someone deteriorate for so long. He was on hospice at my aunt's house, and there came a point.
He was ready to go.
The last night, like, he passed away on October 30th.
Right.
My birthday's October 29th. He wanted to make it to my birthday.
Amazing.
And you know, God is good.
God is good.
And I prayed next to him that night, and I just asked God to take him because I could see the pain. I could see that, you know what I mean?
So you were angry with God.
I know, but there I was asking for things.
Right?
Right.
So you're angry with God, but yet you are finding yourself praying for him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was always there.
He was.
He was.
Just mad at him.
Just mad at him.
Right.
So now Papa, Michael, Patsy, the 2 people that raised you, and your biological mother have all passed.
Right.
So at this point, you're a senior in high school. You're an adult, early adult. What's now? Is it? Are you into alcohol at this point? Are you drinking?
This is
are you
when,
not? How are you numbing the pain?
Yeah, this is when it really comes in. You know, I was like a very rebellious child, and once all that happened, I felt a sense of freedom. Probably not great thing, but yeah, that's when the drinking and the drugs slightly started.
Mm-hmm.
High functioning stuff, but yeah, that's when it really.
And were you abusing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just having fun, enjoying it with your friends,
right,
and trying to numb the pain.
Right.
And then what about your relationship with your biological father at this point?
Still kind of in and out.
In and out.
2 to 3 years of just nothing.
Had you, at this point, like, try to reach out to him at all? I mean, do you remember any, like, types of, reaching out? Or,
not on
I mean, because at this point, you don't really have anyone.
Right. And
you're alone.
You know, it's funny that you asked that because before my papa passed away and when he was still in somewhat good health, my dad was writing me from jail or from prison, wanting a relationship and stuff. And eventually my papa said, do you want me to write him a letter to tell you to leave you alone? And I said, yeah, because it became awkward for me. I didn't know him.
Yeah.
You know, and so my papa did do that, and it stayed as nothing for a while.
You had bitterness, resentment towards him.
Yeah. I didn't really want anything to do with him.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you are after graduating high school. You graduate high school. What's next?
I went to college in San Francisco. I was living with my aunt and my cousin Kristen, that I have a great relationship with now.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising.
Okay.
But you know, my freedom that was happening for me became detrimental very quick. You know, I stopped paying my bills. Other things were more important, you know, and so it wasn't too long until I had nowhere to sleep. So I was sleeping on someone else's couch, a friend's parents' house, you know, lost my car because I didn't pay my insurance.
Because you are using your money for
drinking, and
partying, and
clothes, and just, you know what I mean? Just like that. I used to say it was, you know, just young.
So the obsession for other things is there.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it was always
okay.
Yeah, kind of there.
And then when does it come a point where now you end up in Monterey, or?
So Monterey there was, you know, kind of a jumble of destinations in between Monterey. I went to Boston for a little while.
Right.
Came back home, got myself kind of a fresh start over there.
Okay.
So I came back. I kind of hopped around California a little bit, but I did end up in Monterey.
Okay.
And then started.
That's what happened. This is kind of where it kind of.
Yeah. So I was a store manager at Francesca's. It's like a boutique. And for like 7 years. I had my own place. I was a high functioning alcoholic, I
Right.
guess you could say, but I could function. Yeah, that's me. And life was good. And then one night at karaoke night, I met this guy, right? Funny, always made me laugh, right? He was a bouncer, and it progressed quickly, and
You never had to wait in line.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And
Bouncer.
it was really fun, and he is a great guy. And so after about a year, I got pregnant. And I always wanted to be a mom. I thought I had so much to offer because I lost so much, Like I felt like I could give a child a life that I didn't have just by luck, maybe. That's when Owen came, and I'm trying to cry. And in my pregnancy, I didn't really feel supported because there were things happening addiction-wise, with his dad and everything. And hey, maybe it was me being very jealous that I couldn't do that. I don't know. But I was very resentful towards him. I wasn't getting help with Owen and all these things, so I developed postpartum depression after I had Owen. And he did get sober a couple months after Owen was born. And when he put it down, I picked it up. I got sick of trying therapy and medications and all this. And
You brushed it on the doormat and went straight back to alcohol.
yeah. It was another
You
hard
didn't wanna
thing that
face
I
it.
didn't want to face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
And,
in the past,
right.
that's what you were kind of doing throughout high school and,
Mhm.
running to Boston.
Right.
And running back and forth to places.
Yeah.
San Francisco, now to Monterey.
Mhm.
So the easy thing to do,
Is
right,
to run.
is to run.
Yeah.
So you run to alcohol and
Yeah. It's interesting too. When it kind of starts getting really out of control, which happened very quickly, I ended up gaining a relationship with my biological father.
right.
He got clean. He was in the hospital for a year, I think. And in that time period, we actually got to know each other.
And what was his name?
Bobby.
Bobby. So Bobby is out of prison, and now he's reaching out to you, and now you are
Yeah.
accepting that.
Yeah. Well, I felt like I didn't have really anybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I felt like I was so broken and just aimless.
Yeah.
And he was the first person I went to when I first said I was an alcoholic, and he said he was going to do whatever it took for me to get help. And so we developed this really beautiful relationship. And so one day, me and Owen are in Turlock, which I wasn't there very often, kind of distance. Right before I went to Boston, I lived with my aunt and my two cousins, Jacob and Nick, and we became like brothers and sisters, very close. When we were in Turlock, I got a call from Nick that Jake had been in an accident, and Jake was about to get married. A month after that, he had a 1-year-old daughter, and he was hit by a drunk driver on his way to work in the morning. I didn't know it at the time, but he was dead on impact.
Right.
So when I went to the hospital, I walked into his lifeless body. That was pretty hard, really hard. And I really lost it at this point because we were very close. Like, I was just at his house a weekend before. He wrote me this like really beautiful text message the last time that we spoke.
He was always there for you.
Always.
Always.
And that's the last.
In all the moments that you felt alone, he was always there.
Always there, always there. And that one cut me pretty deep because it was also so tragic. It was so unfair to me.
So now how angry are you at God?
I was really angry. Yeah, I was really angry. I was putting myself in terrible situations, kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, I was just really broken.
Like harm?
Yeah.
And,
a
and
lot of
putting
harm.
other people at harm
Yes.
too?
Yeah. You know, drinking and driving.
Drinking and driving.
Things like that. And me and my dad got closer.
And meanwhile,
he knew
Owen
Jacob.
and Owen's father,
Yeah.
okay. So you guys have separated
Yes.
in a sense, and
Yes.
then now you are
Mm-hmm.
going through another loss,
Mm-hmm.
but you're trying to build that relationship.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And so 2 to 3 weeks after this, my dad left the hospital. We had, you know, drawn up this plan that he was going to come to Monterey with me, and I was going to get him set up and all this stuff. Well, he called me one Saturday and said he was going to go back to Denair, back to old people, you know, old places, old things. And I wasn't very happy, but I couldn't stop him, you know. So I told him I would meet him for breakfast the next morning. And on my way there, I'm calling his phone. He's not answering. And then eventually this woman picks up, and I'm telling her, you know, where's my dad? You know, all this stuff. And she's like, I can't wake him up. I was about 15, 20 minutes away. And I get there, and I just walk through the front door, and he's just there on the couch, just hung over and just dead on the couch from a heroin overdose.
So you lost your biological father.
Yeah.
So now you've lost your biological mother, the two people that raised you, the person that was closest to you when you were lonely, who was always there, someone that you would call your brother, little brother, right?
Yeah.
And now the relationship that you've built with your biological father that you never had, now he's passed away on heroin, and prior to that, he's trying to get you sober.
Right.
So what are the emotions that are going through your head?
Anger. A lot of anger.
And we just turn straight now to more alcohol.
More alcohol. In abundance.
Yeah. So now we are just angry.
Yeah.
And now we are going to just numb everything and just really, now we're kind of like an angry drunk.
Very.
Yeah.
You know, hurting people that don't deserve it.
Yeah.
Things like that. I got 2 DUIs back to back right after that. That's when
it rains, it pours.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when Owen's grandma told me, like, if you don't get help, we're taking your son away from you.
Right. Now, is this when you've met Tim?
Not yet. You know, I had to go through a couple treatment centers, try to get help, fall a little bit, get a little bit of sobriety, and then eventually I went to an IOP program.
Okay.
After Bayside Marin in Marin County, and that was in Orange County.
Right.
That's where I ended up. And a part of me thinks that was another, you know, technique of running, going down there, you know, sometimes. And so I went down there. I did 3 months of that. I was trying to make the judge happy. So I became a house manager for sober living. I started working there. I was white knuckling it.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Did you have a relationship with Owen at this point?
I did.
Okay.
I did. Owen was still in Monterey with his dad and now stepmother and stepbrother in a beautiful home.
What about Owen's father? Did you guys have a line of communication?
We did. But there was a few factors that made it a little difficult for me personally. Like who he was married to didn't like me that much.
Right.
Which, I mean, I didn't like me that much. But things were just difficult.
Now, when you were down in Orange County, you became a house manager. You started to take your recovery a little bit more serious after Owen's mom had reached out to you. Or, I'm sorry, Owen's grandma. So now, are you finding community? Are you working the steps? What's going on here?
I attempted a few sponsors, you know, and I really just didn't want to do the work.
Yeah.
You know, I was doing community service. I was working 2 jobs on top of house managing. I was just burning myself out.
Burning the wick from both ends.
Right.
So let me ask you this. Were you burning the wick from both ends because you were still deep down maybe a little angry, frustrated with everything?
Yeah. I was just...
thinking the
angry.
black cloud was constantly following you around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and I just wasn't ready.
Yeah.
You know, very vulnerable, not knowing really who I was, you know, and that was really when I was working in treatment. I got a year. Well, I took a dirty chip, but that's besides the point.
Right.
You know, but when I was working at Pacific Palms Recovery, that's where Tim comes into play because we were working together there.
There you go.
We were friends, really good friends for a long time, and you know, we started dating, and really the red flags happened really quick for me, but I ignored them. I've always ignored him, and we were together for a really long time. It was healthy in the beginning for a little while, and then it just, I would have a relationship with Owen. We were both house managers at a sober living. On the outside, everything looked great,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't. You know, we were surrounding ourselves with people that weren't clean.
Right.
And in an effort to save some people, you know, we ended up putting ourselves in the situation to use again ourselves.
Right.
And it wasn't just alcohol; it was harder and harder and harder things. Right. And he was an ex-heroin addict, so I was vulnerable and I was exposed. You know, so we ended up moving out of sober living in an effort. Well, I mean, I personally, I should speak for myself, but I felt really guilty, you know, so we got our own place, and it just, you know, it gets worse and never better.
When it rains, it pours, right? So now we're just chasing that black cloud.
Yes.
And now the black cloud is just getting, it's controlling us.
Right.
Now we're in a world of chaos, and you and Tim are just partying.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We were working, we were semi-high functioning, and eventually both of us got fired.
Yeah.
Same week.
Right.
You know, and it was right before COVID, which is a terrible idea. You know, all this money for drug addicts and then COVID relief for rent. I mean, it was kind of like a massive playground for a long time.
Right.
You know, but it just got worse. We allowed these two people to come live with us.
Right.
And our nice apartment soon became, you know, a trap house.
Right.
Very obvious to law enforcement. Very, it just got really bad.
Okay.
Really bad.
So then what happens? It gets bad. You guys get evicted?
We did.
Okay.
We did. We got evicted in it was not this last December. It was the December before that. So almost 2 years ago, we got evicted. And so humiliating.
Right.
So humiliating.
But you said something to me that when you got evicted, sometimes, what was it? What is it that you said?
Yeah, we were standing in the parking lot across from our apartment, and you know, both crying and very emotional, you know, over all the loss of things and stuff. And I told Tim, I said, what if we have to lose all these materialistic things in order to really be the people that God needs us to be, or intends us for us to be, you know?
Right. How did he take it?
It helped, you know.
But something made you think of this, right?
I mean, just God.
Right.
And just in that moment of being stripped of everything, there's got to be a reason, you know. Blessed
are those who are poor in spirit, for they will inherit the kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
So is this a breaking point for you think, or is this just maybe like another block to kind of maybe get you to the next step?
That.
Okay.
You know, I wish I could say that was the aha moment, but it wasn't.
Right.
You know, we started living in we were blessed enough to have a car to live in for 15 months. And, you know, in between that time, it was a lot of, like, you know, chaos.
Yeah.
Things that I never would have thought ever, you know, the lack of, you know, food, the lack of hygiene, it's a very dirty life.
Right.
Yeah, I don't wish it upon anybody.
Yeah.
I really don't. But I think a part of me liked it because I felt like I deserved it.
Yeah.
You know, I had completely disconnected from my son and my family at this point and prior. And, you know, I was arrested 5 times last year, and you know, we lived in between Denny's and Del Taco, and yeah, it was awful. It was terrible. It was terrible.
So then at this point, is this when you guys found recovery at First Steps?
Yes. So when we both worked at Pacific Palms in Orange County, we worked with a very nice woman who I'm still very close with.
Right.
And she would call me every month and be like, when you're ready, call me.
Okay.
And, you know, eventually enough was enough. Yeah, so I called her and I said I needed help.
Now, when did the email come? This wasn't until later?
So the email came in January.
Okay. And at this point, you're in treatment?
No, not yet.
Not yet, okay.
Yeah, it came in January, and I didn't even think about opening it.
Right.
Because I really thought it was his dad.
And just explain real quick, you got an email from?
My son.
Okay.
Yeah, my son.
And how long had it been since you've talked to your son or seen your son?
The last time I saw my son, he was 5.
5. And at this point, he is?
9.
9. So you've been on the run?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you haven't talked to him, you haven't seen him, and now he writes this email. And now you guys are, and this is in January, so
right.
The email, so you're still not in treatment yet?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. It came, and it was probably a month until I opened it. It wasn't really until, I didn't want to even open it or consider it until I knew I was going to get help.
Yeah.
Because one day it dawned on me after I had contacted my friend over at First Steps and had an idea that I was going into treatment that it just might be Owen and not his dad.
Yeah.
And so when I finally reached out to Kirsten over there at First Steps, I decided to open it.
Okay.
And that was probably about a month after I had received it.
But you did, and is that when you read it?
Yeah.
Is it okay if I read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the letter or email that Owen wrote. Hello, Mom. This is your son, Owen. I just really hoped that you would come home and be my mom again. It doesn't feel like you are about me without you around. And it doesn't feel right living without my mom because everybody always makes fun of me because I don't have a mom. So please come home. Don't ignore me. And besides, you care about me, right, Mom? And by the way, do you care about me, Mom? More than you do care about your boyfriend, Tim? More so, if you cared about me more, then come home and be my mom. But if you don't, then stay with your boyfriend, Tim. More than last time I saw you, I was 6, and now I'm 9, and I haven't been able to spend any holidays with you because you love your mean boyfriend more than you love me. So come home and live with your family, or go live with your boyfriend and never see your family again. And by the way, this is from your fake boyfriend, Tim. You're so beautiful. Well, quit it. And this is from you to Tim. I love you. And by the way, you may have left me when I was 3, and you came back when I was 6. I've been having a better life without you, so boom. That is what you get for leaving me when I was 3. He's angry.
Yeah.
A lot of emotion from a 9-year-old, right?
Right.
So how did you take this email?
Hard.
You can tell he's writing and you know these long sentences and he's just frustrated and he wants you to understand how much he loves you because he needs you. Yeah. He needs his mom. And he's angry. Yeah. Was this the moment?
Yeah, that was the moment. Yeah. And I can't tell you how many times I read it.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, it was 2 days later that I went into First Steps.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then you went into First Steps, and how long were you at First Steps for?
27 days. Yeah, in Clovis.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when did you reach back out to Owen?
I reached back out to him at 45 days clean because I needed to make sure I wasn't going to let him down again,
Right.
you know. And when I wrote him back, you know, I put no expectations on it. I basically told him all the things that I never did tell him because I was absent for so long. And it was basically, I love you. I'm proud of you. You've been the light of my life. And if you don't want it, if you don't want, you know, me in your life, that's okay. I just need you to know that I love you.
Yeah.
You know, and the great thing is I woke up that morning. The next morning, I went to group, and he called me when I was in the middle of group.
So do you think that maybe like, since maybe like your biological father kind of pushed you and abandoned in a sense that you, maybe that's kind of like how you were with him? Like, do you think maybe
Probably.
you got that trait, or,
Yeah.
you know, like it's, you know, like,
Yeah.
this is going to be okay. This is okay to do.
Right.
And then you get this and everything changes.
Oh, yeah. Everything changed.
And then you're sober for 27 days. You reach back out to him. What was it like when you hung up the phone? Like, what was there a weight lifted off of your shoulders? Because it's a
Yeah.
beautiful moment.
It was almost kind of scary
Yeah.
because it was so unexpected.
Yeah.
But it was great.
But you overcame that fear.
Yes.
You overcame that fear that you always ran from.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're facing it dead on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good for you. So
Thank
then
you.
what happens after? So you do 27 days and
Yep.
then what?
I mean, we have an amazing relationship today.
Yeah.
You know, like that same day, he sent me a text message. He knows what's going on.
Right.
You know, and he said, thank you for stopping, things like that. And, you know, we play Fortnite
Right.
to connect. You know, I'm like a cool mom now, I guess. I'm not that good.
Huh?
But I try. He does all the work.
Yes.
You know.
But it's about just connecting with your son.
Yeah, because I disconnected.
Because
for
you
so long.
disconnected for so long.
Right.
And so, you know, one of my favorite beatitudes, you know, blessed are those who are poor in spirit, and we kind of translate and hear it as, you know, blessed are those who are underdogs, for they will have an unbelievable comeback story. This comeback story that you have is unbelievable.
Thank you.
It's so beautiful. And the relationship now that you've built with your son. So what's it like now? Because I know you're playing Fortnite, but you've coined out a touchstone,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And you've had some sobriety now. Have you seen him?
I have not seen him, but I do get to see him.
Okay, so you want to talk about, because he's in Indiana now,
He is in Indiana.
right? And we're trying to figure out a way to get to Indiana.
Yes.
Right.
I did book a ticket July 30th,
Awesome.
so it's in the works. And you know, it's great. Like, me and his dad too connect well. We have a
Awesome.
great relationship. We're able to level with each other, no judgment. And it's great.
And I feel like maybe behind the scenes he's kind of pushing for this,
Right.
in a sense.
Right.
He wants you to be
Yeah.
the mom that
Yes.
you wanted to always
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
And now is because he's clean now, correct?
He
Or
is.
he's
Yeah.
So now he's clean.
Yep.
You're clean,
Mm-hmm.
right? And now you get a chance to rebuild
Yeah.
something that you helped broken. Sometimes when we
Yeah.
break things, we got to break it all apart, but
Right.
that's the only way to put it all back together.
Right. Yeah.
And now
for
you're putting
sure.
everything back together.
Yes.
So now that you've been in recovery for a while, what are some of the things that you've learned that are going to help you rebuild not just yourself but your relationship with him?
I mean,
I think you have a pretty good
it's,
start with a new faith.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I was so ready for this entire experience. You know, they call it a pink cloud, or you know, I feel like God's grace and this serenity that He's given me has not left me since I got clean
Beautiful.
at day one.
Yeah.
But you know, He works through us, not for us. You know, like I have to put in the work every day to, you know, build myself with scripture, prayer, having a relationship with Him, because it only get, more strong, or stronger, the more that I spend time with Him.
Right.
And conversate
You have to
with
practice
him
your faith.
Right.
Correct.
And not just ask for things, but have, a thankful heart.
Yeah. Faithfulness is the reward.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. So, yeah.
So back to the questions, like what is the one thing that you've learned in recovery? that
learned
comes to
a
your
lot.
mind. The first thing that comes to your mind.
One thing at a time.
One thing at a time.
Just one thing at a time.
Take it slow.
Take it slow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
Take it easy.
You know, I mean, like all those slogans, it's
Yeah.
kind of funny.
All
but
the
they really
cliches.
do mean something.
Absolutely.
Progress,
Keep coming back.
You know, not
Right.
perfection.
Right.
Perfection is a myth.
Right.
You know, just things like that. There's a lot. There's a lot of knowledge in there.
What's the one prayer that you've learned in sobriety that means a lot to you?
Oh man. Probably the serenity prayer.
Right.
Because I feel like I say that over anything.
Right. Because I feel like there's a lot of things that you didn't have control over that you were angry about.
Right.
Right. But
Oh,
now
yeah.
we can maybe let go
Yeah. Definitely.
and ask God for that serenity.
I've turned the page. You
You've
know,
turned the page.
I don't live back there anymore. I don't choose to forget it. But I'm in a different chapter now. You know.
Do you think that maybe when you said, you know, you lost all that material, that this is who God intended you to be, do you think now, looking back, that this is everything that you went through, the loss of your biological mother, your biological father, the two people that raised you, Patsy and Michael, the person that you called a brother, can you somehow find the good in all the suffering that you went through that made you who you are today, that ultimately will provide the life that you want to give your son?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, I feel like I'm able to teach him perseverance,
Right.
and be able to look back at his mom's life and be like, wow, she's strong. You know, and he never gave up on me. So it's just all good vibes.
All good vibes.
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to finish up on? Is there anything you want to say?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
think we covered
Anything that you want to say to the recovery world that is out there, maybe listening and hurting and struggling? Is there anything that you want to say, that because your story is there's so much suffering,
Yeah.
there's so much pain,
Yeah.
and you have figured the only way out is through,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And
Totally.
you had to have some type of fight in you.
Oh yeah.
Is there anything you want to finish off with?
I think I would just say, just because from my personal standpoint, when I was out there, was I thought that I could have died and no one would have cared. You know, and people care.
People care.
You are loved. You know, they say don't leave until the miracle happens, and it's true. You know, we're all miracles in this, but it does take work. But there's a whole community out there that's
There's a
willing
number
to
of
support
us.
you. Yeah, for sure.
Every number has a name. Every name has a story, and every story matters to God. Your story matters. Thank you so very much.
Of course.
You rock.
Thank
I
you.
rock with you.
Yes.
Give it up for Kasey.